Welcome into the Your Illini Nation pregame show here live from the Xfinity Center in College Park, Maryland. Andy Olson joined by Illini Inquirer's Derek Piper. We're back on the road, Derek, and this isn't like Vegas. You're out there with Brett and Kevin and everyone having fun. The first true road game of the season for the Illini, and it just happens to be the Big Ten opener as well. Illinois trying to exercise some demons possibly. Last year losing in this arena. We'll talk about that game a little bit later, I'm sure. But it is a top 25 matchup for the Illini. Not one that I don't think people had circled as a possibility at the beginning of the season, but Maryland has come out of the gates hot, and we will talk about them for sure. Derek, we're expecting a good crowd here tonight. It's a sellout for the student section here behind us. It's a gold out. We'll talk about the shirts as well. Almost like an average Joe's look going on with the gold. I think we're going to have a lot of fun tonight.
9 o'clock local tip, Friday night, first Big Ten game. Kevin Willard's team 7-0 and a number 16 Illinois squad in town. It's going to be pretty hyped up. It's going to be a raucous environment, a lot of fun. These are the type of games why you sign up to come and play in the Big Ten. And Illinois is now one of those hunted teams in the league. And I think that's one thing. I know I was overhearing some talk amongst the employees pregame. I don't think this is actually going to happen if Maryland wins, but they're like, you know, there could be a court storm tonight. The students could be that fired up. They could try to come on the court. Look, Maryland's favored by 2 points. They're a ranked team in their own right. It's a proud program, a lot of tradition. I wouldn't expect that, but it did make me think, like, back to Brad Underwood's first year in Champaign, when Michigan showed up, when Michigan State, when Purdue, when those teams came to your building, you knew it was one of the marquee games on your schedule in an entire season. Illinois, being a defending Big Ten champion, being a team that's won as many of the games as they have in the past 3 years, they're now looked at in that capacity. So a chance for them to defend their crown in the Big Ten, get things kicked off, and like you said, try to get Brad Underwood's first win here in College Park, the only road venue in the Big Ten where he hasn't won. We'll
see if they can get it done tonight. Let's talk about the Illini and put that Syracuse game to bed now. We did mention Maryland coming in 7-0. Illinois 6-1, their only losses to Virginia. Not bad in their own right. But the win against Syracuse, I think people have talked about as one that possibly won't be looked back upon at the end of the season as a marquee win. Syracuse just a down year for them, maybe a down couple years. But what Illinois was able to do in that one, Coleman Hawkins with a triple-double, there's the 5th one in program history. Everyone did their job, came out of that game clean, I think was the most important thing. And you win by almost 30. That's not bad either against a Jim Boeheim coach team.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive, even though if Syracuse is going to be down and a team that might risk being 2 years in a row of not making the NCAA tournament. But the fact where you hold a team, I don't care who it is, you hold a team to 44 points, you hold them below 28% from the field. Illinois' defense now is top 10 in the country defensive efficiency. They forced a lot of turnovers, 17 for the Orange on that night on Tuesday. And then the fact just with their length, with the way they can defend inside, I've been really impressed. I've come back to it a lot of times here early on this season. Without that legit shot blocking big, just the fact that they can contend around the rim and have that athleticism and size is playing out into some really good defense. So they're hanging their hat on the defensive end. And then offensively, while it was ugly at times in that first half against the zone, and
you could say,
look, the zone makes that happen for a lot of people, where you got to try to pick and choose how patient to be, what shots to take. They give you a lot of openings from three. Illinois took 39 threes in that game, but Coleman Hawkins in the middle of that zone was just fantastic with his facilitating. Got some NBA draft buzz even furthered, where Sam Vecini of the Athletic, a really respected guy in that area of the media profession, said Hawkins might be his favorite prospect in this draft. He has him number 29 right now on his big board. That's a projected first-round pick. Just at 6'10", dribble, pass, and shoot it, defends really well. And this is another big one tonight against Julian Reese, one of the breakout players here in the Big Ten. So coming off that defensively, and then for Coleman, for RJ to continue to score, for Terrence, I know he went 5 for 15. You'd like more out of that, but there's definitely some bright spots that you would help carry over now into Big Ten play.
Yeah, let's talk about Maryland, because we talked about the Illinois defense, how good it's been this season. Maryland's offense has been really good as well, and that has been one of the, I think, surprises, maybe not the surprise of the Big Ten. Purdue has been a pretty big surprise as well. There have been other surprises as well. But Maryland coming out to a 7-0 start has certainly been one of them. Kevin Willard has been so good for the Terps so far, just reinvigorating this program and getting them back into the top 25 after a tough year, a weird year last year. You lose your coach in the middle of the year. vibes were off in College Park. But back this year, off to the kind of start that they're at, they're riding high on confidence, and they have an Illini killer in Dante Scott, who has beat him a couple times before.
Yeah, he's been a problem for Illinois. 25 points last year in this building to beat them. It was a career high for him. He's matched that this season. He had 25 in their event. They played against SLU and Miami and blew both those teams off the floor. The Basketball Hall of Fame, MTE, last week, and he's playing at all Big Ten level right now. Big-bodied forward, 6'8", has been a big matchup problem for Illinois in the past, with Illinois not having that traditional four-man where they played DeMonte Williams in that spot. We know that DeMonte's strong, good rebound, effort player. He's 6'3".
Yeah.
6'3" against 6'8". That's a mismatch. Even Jacob Grandison about 6'6", and not as strong as Dante Scott. So that has been something that he's been able to exploit against the Illini. Now with the roster turnaround of Illinois, just the expansion of length and athleticism, I think when you look at Matthew Meyer, when you look at Terrence Shannon, when you even potentially can play a big lineup of Dane Danger, Coleman Hawkins at the 4, Illinois is a lot better equipped to handle Dante Scott. But at the same time, you definitely respect his talent, a guy that's shooting it really well from 3, 43%, playing the mid-post, he's physical. And Julian Reese, who's that sophomore who showed signs as a freshman, has put it more together this year. Him and Dante Scott are two of the better players in the front court, making up a tandem in that league, and both are really good on the glass. I know Brad has really emphasized that this week. This is an older, physical Maryland team, and Kevin Willard has his team re-energized and has his fan base re-energized. Yeah. The fact that the crowds here last year, I know you were here in this building, it was down, and it was on break for the students, but still, they were really, the wind was taken out of their sails with the way the Mark Turgeon era ended. It's been better than they've expected early on, and they're trying to further that thing forward here early on in this schedule, which is a big week not only for Illinois, but for Maryland. This game at Wisconsin, Tennessee, who's a highly ranked team. It's a chance for Maryland to even climb even farther up into the pecking order in the Big Ten. Yeah,
well, let's talk about that game last year as well, because even though it was a down year for the Terps, still got the better of the Illini here on this court. It was a game that was dominated by Scott. Kofi Coburn missed that game. Andre Cabello played in that game with the fever, had COVID after that. We're not sure exactly what happened there, but Illinois not playing to their best of their abilities in that one. We're upset. One of their just few losses, which kind of came as a surprise. You think this would have been one that they would have won, but even without that crowd, Maryland got the better of them last year. This seems better than last year's team was. You could probably say the same about Illinois, but they're more dangerous now this year.
They definitely are, and the fact of they were able to go out and bolster that backcourt. A couple of transfer guards, Jameer Young, transfer from Charlotte. It's a local product from around here in the College Park area, and he's someone that can be a 3-level scorer, average about 19, 20 points a game at Charlotte. He's come in to about 12, 13 points a game so far for the Terps, and he's going to provide a challenge when you think about Illinois' youth and inexperience in the backcourt with Sky Clark, Jaden Ness playing their first true road game, their first Big Ten game against Jameer Young is a key matchup. Hakeem Hart continues to just continually get better for them. I think he's one of the more unsung role players here in the Big Ten. Is a 6'8", two-way player, really efficient offensively, shooting it as well as he has in his career from 3, about 43%, and he's one of the better defenders in the league. He looks like a guy that's going to be potentially on that all Big Ten defensive team, and he's going to draw the matchup against Terrence Shannon this year. I've talked about the improvement of Julian Reese, the fact that Dante Scott is playing as well as he has. This is a really good starting 5 that can go up against anybody. The depth is the big key to push Maryland over the edge into being a legit top 5 contender in the Big Ten. They've got some unproven guys coming off that bench, but Ian Martinez is one guy that can come in, make some shots. We got transfer from Seton Hall that Kevin Willard brought in. I think that's one storyline going into tonight. Illinois, we know that their depth has been one of the really encouraging things about this team earlier in the season. How does Maryland shape up with that? Because if they're not as good tonight, that could be one that pushes Illinois as far as an advantage on the road.
All right, let's talk about this gold out for a second, too. You mentioned last year students were on break. People talk about the Xfinity Center. If you haven't been, there is a huge just vertical wall of students right behind the camera right here. Last year, that game was missing that. Not the case tonight, as some students have already made their way in. It is a goal. Let's show you the shirt here for a second. Here. We got to show off the shirt. I'm going to put this shirt back, but this is what the students will be rocking tonight. And it gives me the average Joe vibes, Derek.
I see the same thing.
I can see the same thing. It's going to be a big deal tonight, having the students on campus here for this game.
Oh, absolutely. The fact of it's their annual gold rush. It's going to be painted gold. We've seen paint the hall orange games at Illinois, and look, I think Illini fans and really everyone out in college basketball is still pretty well in tune with the fact that Maryland is one of the more proud college basketball programs out there. The rich tradition, won a national title under Gary Williams. They've been a great program, obviously before in the ACC and now in the Big Ten, and they've won a couple of shares of Big Ten titles. Now they feel like they're back with Kevin Willard and feel like they have the right leader leading the Terps. So that is as massive and collective of a student section as there is in the Big Ten. I know that the Orange Crush, you go around the court and then put some even up in the C section, the 200 level, but that is a imposing block of students that are going to be rocking the night, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun one.
Quickly as well, not just the students, there will be another super fan here, apparently.
Yeah. Sports
fans may be familiar with Scott Van Pelt from ESPN. He did go to a more recent Illinois-Maryland game, the one in Champaign in 2020, that Illinois probably wants to forget about. Brad Underwood and company hoping that it's a different result this time with SVP in the house. But talking about the opposition of playing against the sixth man that is the student section here, I want to extrapolate on what you said about the freshmen getting their first true road experience. In Vegas, a lot of orange and blue,
yes.
A lot of Illini fans. I'm not sure how many orange and blue fans will be here tonight, and that's going to be a brand new experience for them.
It definitely will, and as we know on the road in the Big Ten, just like when you have that type of environment, obviously one, with the freshmen, it can speed them up, it can make them uncomfortable, it can make them press a little bit, and how they adjust to that is going to be very interesting early on. One thing I was noticing in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, and really just looking around college basketball, home court has been really, really good to teams that have been able to play that in marquee games. Look at Texas last night playing against Creighton. They obviously beat Gonzaga. We'll be talking a lot about Texas here on this road trip as we go along, but just the fact of having that at your back, usually your team's more consistent, more ready to go when they're at home. And for an Illinois squad that hasn't played a ton together, to put them in a position to be battling some adversity, not that they didn't out in Vegas, but they had, like you said, almost a home court type of feel out there. It's going to be a lot different here in this building. So I'll be interested to see how they handle that adversity, see if they can. One of the big keys always is, can you make sure that teams don't go on extended runs? We see it at some of the best venues in the Big Ten that a 5-0 run all of a sudden turns into an 11, a 12-0 run, and that can really be the difference in the game. Can Illinois avoid that tonight in their first Big Ten road game collectively? We'll see.
Let's talk about some of the guys who maybe have started slow for the Illini, but have put together some interesting performances. RJ Melendez, no points in the first half against Syracuse, and then goes double digits in the second half. Do you feel like he's starting to find his rhythm a little bit after a tough start to the year?
I definitely think he is. I think that Brad has been challenging him, as we've known, and I think he's really responded to that challenge. And RJ's a guy that is super talented. I mean, there's, as Brad said in the preseason, there's really nothing that he can't do out on the floor with his length, the ability that he has some skill, he can shoot, he defends, he's a good athlete. And now that he's played with more energy, that's kind of been the thing that has kick-started him to go to the glass a little bit more. They're going to have to do that tonight. That's going to be a big difference maker for the physical Maryland team that's great on the offensive glass. But RJ shooting the three really well. Last year, 60% from deep, limited sample size, but now has it going again to where he's shooting it well from the outside. And I think it's going to matter tonight where, as we talked a lot about, Terrence Shannon, marquee guy in the scouting report. After a triple-double, Coleman Hawkins, someone else is going to be really looked at. They might cheat off the corners and leave RJ for some open threes. The way he's shooting it right now, and he can make a pay.
What do you make about Matthew Meyer then, in the same vein of struggled a little bit, but Brad Underwood said that he thought he played a good game against Syracuse. It has been that physical guy that you've been talking about.
I think it's been really encouraging what you got from Matt. You look at the Syracuse game, he just checked a lot of boxes with his performance. He had 5 points, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 assists. He just did just about everything but make the threes. And I know that Brad mentioned maybe he needs to bring the mullet back to make those threes, get that shot going. I don't know how quickly he can regrow that, but I do think it's a guy that's really the only thing missing right now based on some of his recent performances. I think that he's looked athletically better, like in terms of being more healthy, more better conditioned, and the fact that he's kind of taken the mindset of, okay, I know that, yes, my scoring is really important for my NBA stock, and I got one more year, and I'm trying to, I've been invited to the NBA Combine the last few years for a reason. I'm supposed to elevate to that level, but his shot making isn't shaking his effort and kind of his focus in trying to make quote-unquote winning plays, and this is a type of environment that he won't be shaken by. He's been in a lot of these type of games, a lot of opposing arenas in the Big 12, and I'm encouraged by the way he's been trending early in the season. Still a long way to go to reach the Matthew Meyer that we saw at Baylor, but the trend is very encouraging about how he's progressing.
All right, this one should be an interesting one, the fact that it's going to be so much different than the way that Illinois played the last game. Almost 40 3-point attempts from Illinois against Syracuse. I don't think that's going to, am I wrong? Will they play like that again tonight? I don't think so.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, it's going to be completely different.
Right, Maryland is a team that I think a key storyline as you kind of watch what they've done so far this season, and Brad mentioned it in the presser yesterday, they mix their defenses, so they'll play aggressive man-to-man, they'll throw out some matchup zone. Of course, you play zone, maybe that will present an opportunity for Illinois to once again hoist some threes, and they're capable of shooting a better percentage than they did against Syracuse. They'd been coming into that game shooting 40% from three in their previous 4 games, so the matchup zone, and they'll even mix in some full-court pressure. So that's something that I think in particular, and they're almost sneaky with it. They'll make a basket, they'll start to drop back a little bit, and then they'll get in there and try to hunt for a steal when you're not expecting it. So with Sky Clark, with Jaden Epps, freshman guards, I think they'll try to surprise Illinois a little bit with their full court pressure. But one thing I do expect a lot of, maybe not as many threes, a lot of free throws tonight from both teams. It's going to be a physical game. Maryland does a great job of getting to the free throw line. Illinois, I think, if they execute effectively, will get to the line as well. That has been one thing that Illinois has lacked some early on, is some consistent free throw shooting. That's got to be better tonight. I
don't know if you guys saw, we're becoming like Maryland celebrities, I guess, because some fan taking photos with us while we're...
I tried to hold it together. Hold it together.
You did a good job holding it together.
Didn't break any focus.
And I hope that people at home can tell how much louder it's gotten in here just since we started. It'll be fun to go back and listen at the beginning when they were just starting to let people in versus now, and it's gotten very loud. But the
band's getting ready to start up. They're starting to warm up. Our time is short on us being able to even hear what we're saying to each other, but I do spot one guy with an orange headband and orange shirt in the student section.
I do see
him as well. He is going to be a popular fella in that section tonight.
We'll make sure he gets in the highlights tonight.
Let's make sure he gets home safe.
Yes, get him home safe, please. He is a brave man sitting up there all by himself. You mentioned the free throws. I do want to extrapolate on that as well. You mentioned it being a physical game. That's going to benefit Terrence Shannon Jr. getting to the free throw line.
Definitely. I think that's something that he can definitely do tonight, and we know that he's very capable of, double-digit free throw attempts. Someone that in his career is still in that 75 to 80% range as far as converting from the line. Here recently, he's missed more than he's accustomed to, but I think getting him downhill is a big key. I do think him against Hakeem Hart, who has similar length, not quite as twitchy as Shannon, but a 6'8", really good defender. I think if he can put some fouls on Hakeem Hart, that would really open things up for Terrence, but no doubt that Terrence can do it. I want to see even a guy like Ty Rodgers, who isn't the best shooter, but someone that can, when he's aggressive, attack off the bounce, get to the rim, and RJ as well, I would put him in that category, and even a guy like Jaden Epps. Go in there and be fearless. Julian Reese can protect the rim. He's a good shot blocker. But I think that if Illinois is aggressive, and you're going to have to match that physicality, intensity, they'll get to the line just like Maryland will at the other end.
This one is going to be very interesting. We're starting to wrap up the show a bit now. Let's get to your players. We talked about a lot of players tonight, Derek, on both sides who are going to impact the game. There's going to be some guys who step up to the bright lights tonight. And I'm excited to see who that's going to be, because we just talked about so many on both sides. I can't tell you how jacked up I am for this game. Give me one player on each side, key player to watch who could impact this game.
I think for Maryland, it's Hakeem Hart. Drawing the matchup of a potential first-team All-Big Ten type of guy in Terrence Shannon, a guy that could even be an All-American.
Yeah.
And to know that Illinois, with their freshman guard play, could be, those guys could be a little shaky tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if they were. And that could put more on the plate of Terrence Shannon to step up and try to get going, especially early on. And if Hakeem Hart can kind of shut his water off, so to speak, I know that's a term that Trent Frazier loved to use, one of the better defenders in the Big Ten. If Hakeem Hart can do that at all to Terrence, that could really swing things for Maryland. On the Maryland side, or on the Illinois side, I think that Matthew Meyer is one that I continue to go back to. I think that he's got a chance. Like, you look at that UCLA game, came out, big game, a lot of high-profile players in that matchup, and Meyer banks 2 threes early in that first half. And I think that really settles the other guys in that game. I think he could do something similar here tonight. And also, as I keep coming back to the freshmen, like, how do you handle this? How do you deal with the physicality? How do you deal with the environment? Freshman point guards, when Maryland's mixing defenses and the game just speeds up and goes fast for you, can they sustain that and play at a high level? I mean, these are really talented players, but I think that we saw a good player in Judah Mintz play his first true road game at Illinois, 3 for 16. Not saying Sky or Jaden will do that, but this is a tough test for them in their first Big Ten game, first true road game in the season.
Before we get to score prediction, I failed to mention this as well, but Illinois also with the special visitors tonight. Amani Hansberry, signee from the class of 2023, local of Baltimore, I have on good word, will be here tonight to see the Illini play. Possibly Brad and other coaches will see him play tomorrow, and he's playing in Towson. Good player there in the class of 2023. I know you're our recruiting guy as well. Just a quick snippet of what Amani Hansberry brings.
Look at you with the recruiting scoop, though. You got Amani in the building, reported here. Heard her here first by Andy Olson.
That's right.
But yeah, a guy that this staff is super excited about. A 6'8", really versatile, strong forward that can just do a lot of things. He can play the 4, can play that small ball 5. I loved him throughout the summer. He was one of the top performers in the EYBL, which is the top of the top as far as competition out there on the AAU circuit, and someone that's continuing to get better as a three-point shooter, can make plays off the dribble, great passer, great defender. He's someone that has a lot of potential in an Illini uniform, and one that school right here in his own backyard, not happy to lose.
No, I'm sure they were not. As Kevin Willard has made it very well known, he's trying to lock down Baltimore. So that was one that they either let go through their grasp or didn't have time to get because Brad Underwood and staff were already on it. All right, Illinois, 2-point underdogs as of us talking right now in this game. I believe the total is 144.5. Let's get your score prediction, Derek. What do you think this one will be?
It's a great game. I wouldn't be surprised one way or the other if Illinois showed up and was able to put together a strong performance, and Maryland looked like, oh, they still got some things to figure out as a team that wasn't expected to be this good this early. Wouldn't shock me. At the same time, if this environment, if the buzz from Kevin Willard's 7-0 start carries over and Illinois' inexperience shows tonight, that wouldn't shock me. I actually am leaning that direction. I think it's a close game. I think it goes down to the wire. I think some mistakes by the freshmen and just a team that's going to have to deal with this imposing environment is going to come out on the wrong side, just a little bit short. 73-69, Maryland is my prediction.
Why are we so close with our score predictions? We need to start writing these down beforehand, because I swear I'm not copying his score predictions. Echoing everything that you said, I think this one can be a big moment for those guys to step up, either the freshman or someone like Terrence Shannon Jr. to put the whole team on his back and carry Illinois to a victory in this one. But I do think that this early in the season, this will probably be a learning experience for the Illini more than anything. And it may matter more than a W at the end of the season, is learning from this one how to play in a road environment like this. My score prediction is I'm going with the Terps as well. I swear I'm not just copying you. 73-65 is what I think it's going to be.
A little bit more of a margin.
I think it's going to be a little bit more of the margin. I think Maryland covers. No matter what, I think this one's going to come down to the last few minutes as well. It should be a fun one.
To finish on a high note for the Illini fans out there, want to think positively, want to get the good juices flowing. All right, last 9 games that Brad Underwood's been an underdog. They've won 6 of those outright. They've actually won the game outright. The last 20 road games in the Big Ten, they've won 15 of them. So this situation, I know it's new guys, young team, but Brad Underwood has done really well, and winning on the road has been a huge key to competing at the top of the league, something that he's proven he can do. Can he do it in the one building he hasn't done it tonight? It's going to be fun to watch.
Those are good vibes. I like that stat.
It'll be fun to watch.
That was really good. All right, before we end the stream, what can people for the next hour, Derek, find on the Illini Inquirer to keep them occupied before tip-off?
Got my 3 keys in a pick, the full breakdown of this game. I also wrote about Illinois' defense showing out right now as one of the top units in college basketball. What's really keyed that? What goes into that? Joey wrote about Matthew Meyer being able to make this progress here recently and finding a different way to impact this team than just scoring. So we got all that. I'm here, you're here. We're at post-game coverage. We're excited to be out here on the East Coast.
I know. We're packed a while for the East Coast.
Right.
We're staying here all the way through Madison Square Garden in the Jimmy V Classic on Tuesday, but let's focus on the game tonight. We already talked why it's going to be such a fun one. On WCIA, you can catch the highlights after the game on air on the 10 o'clock news, as well as a live report from myself. If the game's done in time, have to make that stipulation, fingers crossed. You will hear from me after the game there. And then, wherever you're watching this right now, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, WCIA.com, our app, you will be able to watch Brad Underwood's post-game press conference as well. So be sure to tune back in after the game to get his full thoughts, win or lose. He will be unfiltered either way and give us his straight-up opinion on how this one played out. Should be a fun one, Derek. This was one of the more interesting environments that we've had to do a pregame show in so far. It's gotten loud.
Let's get it going.
It's going to get a lot louder as people are filing in the stands that go straight up to the ceiling. And I will be sure to get plenty of shots of that in the highlights later tonight. All right, thank you so much for joining us pregame and spending part of your time with us as you get ready for this one. For Derek, I'm Andy. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you after the game.